Most people will say that public speaking is the biggest fear amongst humans. Second to that is like drowning, and third is like being set on fire. While these are all pretty rational fears, I believe the biggest fear that we have amongst humans, especially as traders, is our fear of uncertainty. Okay? Because let's keep it real. We hate not knowing what's going to happen next. This is why we tend to rewatch the same TV shows, because you know what's going to happen next. This is why we're attracted to the same kind of people with very familiar patterns, because you know what they may do next. And just knowing what's going to happen next gives you a relief of your own anxiety. The problem is that when you go into trading, the thing that really scares you is the very fact that you don't know what the market will do next. This is why major networks like MSNBC exists, because it's a bunch of people around the world trying to figure out what's the market going to do next. Why? Because the fear of uncertainty is eating everyone up alive. But here's the thing. You will never know what the market's going to do next, but here's what you do know. You know what you will do next. Okay? So our goal here today is to transcend our fear of uncertainty and bring it to a place of total certainty. And that begins by accepting and realizing that you don't know what the market will do next, but you know what you will do next. Okay? So for us, our foundation of certainty as traders begins with our trading plan. And within our trading plan, we all have an A+ setup that we trade. Within that setup, we have our conditions that must meet our criteria. We also have confluences, but the real meat and potatoes of your trading plan happens when you hit either buy or sell. So when you're in the trade, you want to have scenarios of how you will behave once you are in the trade. Because remember, you don't know what the market will do next, but you know what you will do next on a moment by moment basis of what the market is telling you. All right? These scenarios are designed to keep you grounded within your process. These scenarios also exist to mitigate those very nasty emotions that you feel when you're in the trade. All right? Your emotions are the reason why you can't respect your stop loss. And your emotions are the reason why that you probably haven't gotten that payout yet. So the thing I really want you to understand is that if you don't have a plan for how you will behave once you're in the trade, your emotions will provide a plan for you. Your emotions don't have your best interests at heart, but your trading plan does. I made a video a little while ago where I go in depth of my personal scenarios of how I behave once I'm in the trade. Go ahead and watch that video and find a way to make those scenarios your own. Now that we have some certainty of how our trading plan should look, how do we maintain the same level of certainty going into a trade setup? That begins by understanding that you as a human being are biologically designed to gather resources. So in this case, you're designed to make money. So the natural thought that you're going to have going into a setup is, how much money can I make on this trade? All right, this is how the 99% thinks. The problem with this thinking is that when you go into a trade thinking like you want to make $1,000 on gold, you go into the trade, let's say you put on 10 contracts, all that needs to happen is for the trade to go against you for 2 seconds, you see your P&L go red, and your mind starts going haywire. Why? Because you go into a trade thinking, how much money can I make on this trade? Instead of thinking, how much am I willing to lose on this trade? Because here's the thing. You will never know how much money you're going to make on a trade, but you should always know how much you are willing to lose. When you're willing to lose something, that means you're willing to accept the risk. You're willing to accept the possibility of defeat, that this trade may not actually work for you. And this is how the 1% thinks. We think about how much we're willing to lose because we don't know how much you're going to make on a trade, okay? When you learn to think about how much you're willing to lose on a trade, and you have a predefined number in your head, and you experience that loss over and over and over again, you learn to kind of stop caring about losing that money. Once you stop caring about losing the money, that's when you start making the money. Why? Because you learn to be a very good loser, all right? But how do you stop caring, right? This is a problem that I had. Like, how do you stop caring about losing the money? That first begins with stop thinking about how much money you want to make on a trade and start thinking about how much you're willing to lose. But you don't know how much you're willing to lose until you actually test it out, okay? Let's make a little spectrum here. This represents you using very baby size, and this is you being totally, absolutely reckless. Let's say that you're willing to lose $100, right? That could be 2 micro contracts. Let's put that right here. But let's say you use $100 and that's still maybe a little too much for you, all right? So we bring that down to 50. What we find with trading like with our stop loss at 50 bucks is that it's actually our sweet spot. And we know that because when we trade with a stop loss of $50 is that we're still able to follow our plan flawlessly, but it's still a bit of a challenge for our emotions. So from there, we're gonna take this $50 stop loss size and we're gonna keep trading with this kind of risk for at least 3 months. Why? Because it takes about 90 to 100 days to build a good habit, because you want to learn how to be a very good loser. Over time, you're going to find out that what was once kind of scary for you to lose is not that scary anymore. And once you're able to execute your trading plan flawlessly like that, that's when you're actually able to size up over a long period of time. What you will learn is that once you stop caring about losing the money, that's when you start making the money. So overall, I want you to understand that you will never know what the market will do next, but you know what you will do next. You will never know how much money you're going to make, but you should always know how much you're willing to lose.